Welcome to Community with Closers. I'm your host, Pat Clark, and this is where closers are born. Get ready for high-energy stories, game-changing strategies, and the relentless pursuit of success. In each episode, we dissect the art of sealing the deal, celebrate triumphs, and explore the grit that defines salesmanship. This is the ultimate podcast for sales warriors ready to conquer the business battlefield. Welcome back. Welcome back to Community with Closers. We have an amazing guest with us tonight with just years of knowledge. Super excited to have him on tonight. But I just want to thank you guys for, tuning in and giving all the love and support to Community with Closers. We're here to bring you guys sales topics, new stuff, keep you energized, and keep you at the top of your game each week here Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. All right, without further ado, we're going to bring in my good friend, Tom King, in the house. What is up, Tom?
Thanks, Pat. It's good to be here tonight, buddy.
Yes, sir. And we just saw each other recently. You were in Greenville speaking at an event there.
Well, yeah, and we had dinner and we had lunch with your lovely wife, and
Yep.
you guys are such a great family, and got to spend some time with you and saw your new ride, which was really exciting. So
Yep.
that was great. And you hadn't got a chance to spend any time with my son, who really runs our service companies and pulls point on all that. And so, yeah, it was great.
Nice.
Your city is gorgeous. I mean, I told my wife, we just got to come back and stay. The downtown area, very, very impressive. Great place to, Greenville's the place to vacation, folks, But
Don't say that too loud. No.
Don't move there. Just go vacation there and leave your money. That's what we want to do, right?
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah,
No, it's cool. It's growing for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's jump into it, man. I want to kind of hear your backstory a little bit. I know the viewers are really excited hearing the backstory and then growing to multi-million-dollar company. So jump into just, how you got started in what you're doing.
Well, I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and my dad had his own cabinet business, my birth father, and that family had concessions for over 100 years. I grew up on the fairgrounds. My grandma doesn't allow us to be called carnies. We're food people. It's a very clear thing, so don't be mocking me on that. But so the first time I learned to sell was probably 8 years old, sitting on top of a countertop hawking caramel corn and learning how my grandma would come out. She's a great influence in my life as far as sales. And she'd be like, we got to get it now. We got to get it now, because people could walk 20 feet down and get another snack. So if you couldn't serve them fast enough, and if you didn't have enough stuff made up, and if you couldn't make change fast enough, the young people listening, there's this thing that was made of paper and that coin. It kind of looks like a washer. That's called money. People physically carried it around with them. And, I was making change at 8, 9, 10 years of age. And so kind of grew up around that. And then I actually started off as a graphic designer in Chicago when Karen and I were young and married. We got married young and moved there. And then God just laid on my heart to go and work with kids. I was working with kids in the local church that we were attending. And so I went to school and got a theology degree. So I actually have a theology degree and did all sorts of stuff during school. But how I got into the cleaning piece is during college. I cleaned carpets for ServiceMaster and just really enjoyed it full time with one of my best friends. And really, God just blessed me. I made probably more money than anyone on campus. I bought a brand new car my senior year, and Karen was in banking, and so she was doing that because she'd already finished school ahead of me. I married an older woman that would keep me in the manner I'd like to become accustomed, and so we did that. And so I spent about 13 years in youth ministry, and then I had some people recruit me to go work for Eli Lilly, the pharmaceutical company, and so went to work for them. And I thought, man, how am I going to take, what's happening in the church? And I had seen growth. I'd go in and there'd be 6, 12 kids in a youth ministry, and we'd have 100, 150 kids. And what I didn't realize from my graphic design is I would automatically build brands. My youth ministry would have T-shirts and brands and, recordings and devotional books. And it was all with our brand of, the last one I led was called Student Impact. And so, I think that all kind of contributed to some of that growth. And then I learned too that, people didn't want to volunteer to be involved in the church just to serve kids pizza. They wanted to be involved in life change. And so I realized I wanted to connect people to where they could really do mentorship. And so that's where I think I learned to manage teams And it's much harder to manage volunteers that you don't have a paycheck to motivate.
Yeah.
You got to get them around the values, the mission, the cause that you're doing, and then they got to see results, you know? So I think, I had a lot of good experience there, but I had spent about 13 years doing that, really loved it. And I had some people recruit me for Eli Lilly. They're located here in Indianapolis. And so I took a job in sales, and man, I got some of the best sales training. And I know pharma gets a bad rap these days in the media, but I think their hearts are really, most of them are in the right place to help people. But I got great sales training about how to close. And when you're selling pharma, you're not really selling anything. You know, not like when you sell a house wash, or I sell a carpet cleaning, or we sell a sofa in our retail store, that's a hard surface or product. I'm just in talking with a physician about the features and benefits and the value to helping patients, and then they have to act upon themselves and make the choice of what's right for my patients. And so while you're affecting influence, you're not really selling anything. And I think it's a lot harder to do. And what really got me going to having my own businesses is I had a year, I overshot my goals by $1 million. And that's hard to do in the territory. I was out in Iowa. I had the middle six. So any people are listening from Iowa, I've lived in Des Moines twice in my life. And it's really cool to see. You could be in the middle of nowhere and just see cornfields, I'd never been like that, being from Indiana. And so in just going through all of that, after I oversold the quota, I'm like, man, if I'd done that for myself and I was just getting 10% RTO, I mean, I'd be making $100,000 forever. As I keep after it, because when you're in a large company, they keep moving the finish line on you.
Oh yeah, they got to move the carrot. Yeah,
and that's in our businesses too. I mean, we raise that for our folks' expectations. I mean, a couple of years ago, I got a $50,000 raise in rent in 1 year. You got to cover that. You got to sell it. So those are the realities of being in business. And so anyway, I did that. And then when I moved back to Indiana, I was really bored there. I wasn't doing as much science. There were some restrictions that were happening, and I just didn't feel like I was adding value. So I was really bored one summer. I bought 3 janitorial accounts off Craigslist for $1,000.
Oh, wow.
And over the summer,
what did that look like? Like janitorial accounts?
Like business accounts. And it was a guy that had them. And I actually did, before I did that, I had gone through and surveyed about 100. Literally, I had a whole series of questions, 100 franchise owners. And, and I know you're doing a franchise, and that's an awesome thing. But, for me, I think because I'd already been a starter in all these youth ministries, I'm thinking I'm going ground up,
Yeah.
And so I interviewed them and found out what they found valuable, what they didn't find valuable. And I bought these accounts, and I cleaned them over the summer myself, all summer long, 3-4 nights a week. I mean, I literally started it with the toilets and worked my way up.
Nice.
And I got to where that business it became Santa Bright. And it started out as Santa Bright cleaning. And then we moved to, because I had in college cleaned carpets, I got exposed to that and actually went to some training down in Tampa, Florida, in a big distributor called John Don. And they have a week-long class called Strategies for Success.
Nice.
And I took that. I didn't even know how to truck mount. And I just went down and just kind of got the education. And I can't say that enough. If you're looking to get in, don't go buy equipment. Get some education first, join a group, find a mentor, create a plan. A lot of guys, they get in, and it's not always just about not being able to sell. They've got so many things that are just holding them back that they could have avoided had they planned better. Yeah. And I realize some people jump in because they need a job. I mean, that's your story. You had a family and you didn't make some cash. So you had to jump in and make something happen.
Yep.
I was fortunate enough. I had a job and made the thing. And the truth is I grew that thing to multiple by myself. I mean, my wife wasn't involved at the time. She's clearly involved now. My oldest son hadn't gone to college yet. And this was back in probably 2009, 2010. I was making $70,000 a year as a side hustle. And that was at the time my wife was managing a bank, and that was actually what her base was. And then of course she bonused out in that whole system. And so I just went to her one day. I was staying up all sorts of hours, and you know that you're launching something new.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, I said, hey, I think we either need to sell this thing or one of us needs to quit our job and run it. And I've done it alone. And I think maybe you should think about it. And you're managing a group of people and, you've got some good experience, and banking had changed for her. They used to close at 3 o'clock and get more holidays off. And it wasn't that way anymore. It was more 24/7, it seemed like.
Oh,
And
man.
so she prayed about it, and about 3 months later came back to me and said she wants to do that. And I actually have a picture of her the first day. I felt so guilty. Here's my wife. She'd been the vice president of one of these banks, and she's in this truck to go get dirty urine-soaked rugs from one of our techs that needed them picked up at a house. And I'm in a full suit and tie, my pharma gear, in a company car, and I'm going to go do this and serve some people lunch and have this nice day. And here's my wife going to get, and I got a picture of that, and I felt so guilty. I'm like, what have I done?
Yeah.
Well, she got involved in her skills. She doubled the business in a year, just having an on-site manager. Because at that time, we probably had 13, 14, 15 people.
Okay.
For us, we had a couple carpet clean trucks running, every day. And so that moved us to some new space. My son came back. We really went full on with that. And Santa Bright really got a hold. And we have created a really solid brand in Indianapolis. And we're super excited. We're in the process of rebranding and relaunching again. And we've set a new goal. Being around you has been helpful, thinking about doing some other locations. And I think next summer, we're going to look at some other cities. We've got a lot of operative things to get before we start going somewhere else.
Love that.
And then in the process, I got to tell you, I'm not an MBA guy. Some guys go and get an MBA and they're so smart. They know how to come out of college and they know how to go make $1 million. Right. And they just know how it works. I think I've been fortunate. I actually think God's had a hand in my life. And so then we moved into rug cleaning. We've built the largest area rug cleaning plant. My oldest son, Jordan, really is a national expert. He'll be in Turkey again at the end of this year for the second time. He's traveling to Europe. Some of it's vacation. Some of it's just to see rugs. It's kind of a geeky thing, but there's some real proficiency to it. They were just talking the other day that they're taking some customer's rug in and it's going to be sent to Turkey to be rewoven. We do it at that level. Yeah. And so we've got about 11 technicians working in that and cleaning and that's on fire. But I couldn't be more excited about our service company and where it's going to go. And we've really been talking about our sales process and helping our guys close at a higher rate. And we're changing some things around on that. And then after all that started, a friend of mine, this was 2014, came to me. He owned a rug store, and I always sent to Karen, hey, if Mark ever wants to sell that rug store, we should think about buying it. And so he called me up. I didn't say anything to Karen. I went over it. It was a little 2,000 square foot on a brick street in our downtown, kind of like your downtown, but your downtown's a little bit bigger than ours.
Yeah.
I sat with him and talked with him for about 3 months and just watched. And I'm like, okay, I hadn't had a retail job. My wife hadn't had a retail job. That's a whole different thing than we're service guys, you and me, right?
Yep.
We know how to do that.
That's right.
So anyway, we decided we're going to buy it because I figured out he wouldn't give us his rug cleaning, but he sent us carpet cleaning referrals all the time. He was giving rug cleaning to this small little guy, this operating in a garage that he'd used for years, super loyal guy. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I figured if I bought this store just off of the profits from the rug cleaning, I could buy it. And I thought, 3 to 5 years, I'll have it paid off and we'll get all this. And I thought I'd put a manager in it and we'd sell some rugs and, kind of go with our rug plant. We're already rug people. Well, Karen got involved and we went to market. And, there's markets in Vegas, near you, High Point, North Carolina.
Yep.
There's markets in Atlanta. And so we went to a couple markets and we've always been, and it's really been a partnership with her and I. We're really a team. And she was looking at stuff and I asked her, and her house has always been amazing and she's had great skills doing that. And she's not an interior designer. And I said, would you want to get some space that's next to us and kind of open up a little retail and just kind of see how this works? Well, 9 months in, I knew we had a tiger by the tail. And long story short is we've 10x that company.
Nice.
We're doing multiple millions of dollars with that, selling furniture. We have 4 interior designers. We went from 2,000 square feet to about a 13,000 square foot showroom. We got operations people. We lead the city in like we're the #1 volume dealer for many, and we only sell really high end. I mean, we're a Mercedes dealer, and these lines get awarded to you. So we've done all that together, and it all works. And you have to get out and visit. Indy's, come for a car race.
Oh yeah, I definitely
come for a car race, and it's, you know, it all fits together. We've moved everything in one building, and then in 2019, my son and I, we bought a defunct chemical company in the rug and carpet cleaning industry, probably the 5th biggest brand. And the family had just, I think what happened is the father pulled all the working capital out that he really wanted to retire. It put him in a really hard spot. So we bought him, you know, for an amazing price and relaunched that. So that's kind of it's kind of like what you have with your chemical line to do with the kids. Ours is a little bigger. We've got, I think we have 50 products.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so all built around carpet and rug cleaning at a professional level. And so we've got one guy that ships that, and we manufacture that. And just because the EPA, we actually use a manufacturer in the region that does it for us to our specifications, and it's been a really good experience. I mean, we ship to Australia, New Zealand, Poland. We're global on that. So
nice.
We kind of do a little bit of everything.
Well, I like what you're saying there too, because like when you're growing your carpet business, it grows into something, right? And then now you start taking other things on. And I think that's a good point too, because I want to touch on leadership as well, like sales leadership later on. But that's a really good point of like, when you're growing, you have resources that you can do other things with. So for instance, you know, you're like, well, we want to have a product line, or we want a furniture, you know, showcase, because you do carpets anyway. People are coming there, picking up their carpets. And then I remember you were doing videos too, like professional video set stuff.
Yeah, we do. We shoot all our own commercials. What's evolved out of that is, like you, I bet you've paid a lot of money to people over the years to do websites and tell you they can do ads and do things like that. And I know there's a lot of boots on the ground with selling washing, and, you know, especially the soft wash system and everything you do. And you do a lot of commercial, which is super impressive. But I think when you get into all that and you have the multiple businesses, it gets easier because you already have finance people, you already have IT systems, you already got vehicles. So adding a couple of vehicles for the next one. The hard thing is you get distracted, you know, I think, and not everybody's wired. I think I'm just wired that way to do multiple things, you know. I think my son does a phenomenal job leading our service company, but I don't think he's not wired to do multiple things, nor does he desire it. And so, but out of all that came in the marketing people is we created our own communications team called Xenia Hill. And so I've actually had a professional videographer and graphic designer, and I've hired younger people. And so I've had some turnover there, but they've been great, you know. And I think getting the younger people that are a couple years out of school, 4 years out of school, they're way more creative. They don't have limits to somebody. I mean, they may be missing some of the agency's things, but I can coach that up because of my starting off in Chicago as a graphic designer and stuff. But it's been helpful to us. And there's still some things that we don't do. Like I don't do our service company's website, and I don't do the SEO. I've got the same person I've used for 14 years, and I don't want to screw that up. It could cost us a lot of money. But I do write most of our copy. We do lay out how we want our websites to be, and then someone else produces them. We do write all that. We do our commercials, our social media for our industry. And I think it's the same for washing. When you do a cleaning thing, AdWords isn't really work, because, you know, it's not like what I call the mechanical home services. You know, when a plumber, you know, anything plumbing goes wrong, it's a 911. It's a 911 for HVAC. It's a 911 for garage people because the door won't go up or the spring broke. For us, they're just going around the internet and going, hey, my house doesn't look quite that good. And I'm going to just kind of get some information. And that's where being a closer is important, because when that lead doesn't come in, you can't just talk to them and say, oh yeah, we wash houses, we wash carpet, and we could come do that for you. You got to ask the right questions to figure out where their pain points are, and try, you got to tell them how you could make life better for them. And you got to instill confidence in your abilities, right there quickly.
Yeah,
and
quickly.
You teach like being right in the front yard, and and on the doorstep. And for us, it's different. It's all over the phone. So our guys really got to be savvy about that, and do that. But so it's a different sort of sale. But I think you got to close. I mean, and we talk about that. And Karen has said this years ago, and it's written on my whiteboard and in my office, is everybody sells. It doesn't matter what position you have in the company. And I teach people that if you're in operations and you're walking through the showroom and somebody looks like they haven't been helped or confused, or they're just looking, you better stop and ask and say, hey, have you had a chance to talk with a designer? That's selling. Did you know that we have another showroom over here? Has anyone talked to you? I mean, did anyone greet you? All that sort of stuff, especially for retail. I mean, retail's tough. I mean, how many times you go in a store and you want to buy something and no one approaches you appropriately? In fact, they almost make you feel like you're an inconvenience. And the best illustration is go order lunch one day and have some teenager standing on the other side, and their body language is, when they're taking your orders, like, oh, you're killing me to be here. And it's just like, it makes you feel bad. And you and I are positive people.
Exactly. Yeah. It drains us. I mean, it's like sales is emotion, right? It's the transfer of emotion. And so if you look at that, like when you go in, you're right. If somebody's excited that you're there, then you feel like $1 million. You got to make that person feel like $1 million, and you got to make them feel like they won too.
Well, and people are on the phone. You got to smile. I mean, I've heard people say, put a mirror up so people can see whether they're smiling or not. You can hear the smile through the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, I just hired a young man. He just started yesterday from Costco, and I was just walking through, and we're always needing people. And he had a fast pace of work. I saw him. I kind of whizzed around a couple times to see what's this guy doing, And he wasn't like taking all day to unload this pallet. He was getting after it.
Nice.
And then I introduced myself and just said, hey, how long you been here? And just the smile and the greeting. And I left him a card and said, hey, we've got openings in our companies, and reach out to me. I'd love to introduce you to some of our service managers. And he came out. He's actually a college student, going to be a senior. We're going to get him for the summer part-time. But my hope is he's such a positive person, and he's getting a degree in graphic design. I might not have an opening for him, but there's a lot of people with French history degrees that are working service.
Oh yeah.
They've got a degree that you can't really market.
Yep.
And I think we can show people that you could build a good life for yourself in service, and in sales. And I hired the smile, and I went and welcomed him the other day, and he thanked me for welcoming him.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, and it's like, okay, how can we take this, diamond in a rough, young guy, develop him. He's got a lot of positive things going on. And, but yeah, I think with selling, there's so much emotion to it, and being positive. And, we've got a friend that, every time he talks about his business, we got the best trucks, the best systems, he names off 10 or 12 things. And the more you're around him, like, we got to talk like that more. We got to tell people we got the best of everything here, and that's what you're going to get. Yeah. And so I think for me, that's it, and just kind of how we got, and that's kind of how we ended up where we're at. And I just turned 60, and 61 actually. My wife's reminding me of that. And and I feel like I got a quarter, 30% of my life left, and I'm like, I don't know that retirement is a good philosophy. I think you need to be doing something, and I want to always be earning, but I want to have more freedom. Yeah. With my family, we just had our first granddaughter, which is amazing. Awesome. So you're trying to get them out of high school and off to college and learn to drive, That's
exactly right. Yep. Not there yet. But
Well,
no, that's what it takes, right? Is like getting out there, finding the talent, and putting it in there because like that gentleman didn't know what was out there until you presented what you had going on. So that's a huge opportunity for him.
yeah, and the best people. I hired a guy in a CSR. I was at it's Joella's Hot Chicken. If you're in Indianapolis, you got to have it. Um, and he served us one night. He just made that connection with my wife and I. He got us refills. I mean, this is like a Cordova's type of place. He's got no reason. I
Yeah.
can tell he was the assistant manager because he was given some instruction. I figured he was young enough. He probably wasn't the manager. And I left him a card and said, hey, and if you're recruiting and you're looking for help and salespeople, and man, I had a really great cover letter by 10 o'clock that night.
Nice.
And setting up, and it's like that's how you got to go find in these day and age. You got to go find great people, and and I think there's a lot of great salespeople that are caught up in retail, like big box retail, or caught up in serving. And I found some of the best people that have come in and sold for us have had restaurant experience.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because they're serving.
And you got to connect with people quickly, and it's like, first of all, you got to get great service, but if you want to get a great tip, and if you want to upsell them so that they have a drink, they have dessert, maybe they get an appetizer, well, you build the bill, and build the ticket, and that's exactly what and I love it when someone's a server and they do that to me. I buy more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Every time.
Don't you? I love being sold well. If
I do too.
something that sells well, my checkbook's probably coming out whether I need it or not.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You got to give, you got to respect it because they come out, they're funny, they're light. So with that being said, right, because we're coming up on time too. So I want to talk about the leadership side of it because I know we want to talk about that. And then what are the systems and procedures like for your sales team? Do you, what's the training program look like? How long is it? Those kind of things that you may have not done in the beginning that you were like, I need to really put these kind of systems in place later on.
I think on our sales for like our CSRs, designers are a different thing. That's more of they go out to the house, they ask the client what they want, they talk about some pouts, and the designer really creates something. And then they sit down and make the presentation. It's really hitting the emotion of what people want. And there's a selling process to that, but it's not like what we see in the trades, as a lot of the folks that are listening here. Jordan's done a really good job. We have a manual for our guys. I think we don't have as many. We're working on this, as many FAQ answers. Like he and I were talking the other day, a question about like a rug with moth work, and I'd like, well, we need to write something to tell, because somebody was stumbling with that. And our stuff's recorded, and then we review with those guys. I think that's the key thing. There's so much technology today. If you're out there and you've got people on the phones who are even trying to set up bookings and you're not recording it, and I mean, you don't have to be able to afford Rilla. I mean, we don't use that. There's other simpler things and that you can help sit down with people. And so he sits down with those folks once a week and picks a few calls and goes through and just talks about that. But I think it's really having a system of, I call it the 7-pack. I need 7 pieces of information when someone calls in, and you really have to make sure you get that, and then you have to investigate and figure out, well, have you ever used this service? Ask good questions. We try to make sure. Have you ever had your house washed before? Well, yeah, but it didn't go well. Well, then the next question you got to ask is like, well, what didn't you like?
Yeah.
Because I want to avoid that. I want whatever that is, I want to make sure that never happens again. Right. That's sometimes all you have to do to have a big sale.
That's exactly right.
And so really asking those questions. And if people haven't read, I think of the best, most recent book that's out on sales that's really rocking our world around our place, and we have every technician reading this right now, is nice. That book, What Should We Do? And I know it's written for HVAC and the mechanical trades, but I think it translates to cleaning trades really, really well. Of, you're telling somebody, hey, there's 3 ways that we could get urine out. There's actually the best way that we know, and we'll give a warranty to that if you call us within 10 days and we'll come back for free, and we'll come back a second or third time, we're going to tell you, we're going to get rid of that urine odor for you, whatever it takes.
Nice.
But you can do other things that are cheaper. And then it's kind of presenting the options and say, what should we do? And I think that is just working with that entire question. But that is, if people are listening and haven't read that book, order it tonight. It's been transformational for our guys. And I think what I see is now there's conversations amongst our technicians.
Mm.
And I think that's what's happening in our culture right now. There's a transferring from leadership, to like actually the guys on the street talking about, hey, we should, this could have been said better here. And, we've got a ways to go. We're not perfect. I mean, I think we are pretty well known, and I think that can happen as you age. If you're out there and you're older like me, don't get complacent. I don't think we were not taking care of our business. And because Jordan and I have always said to each other, we don't need to worry if we're doing the right things, because we're not going to like go out of business overnight. You have to do the wrong things for a really long period of time before you get in trouble. Once you get to a certain level, and 3, 4, 5 trucks, but what you do have to pay attention to, and I think we had become comfortable that, we could have gone and done this forever. We're making good money. Neither of us are on the truck. We have a hard time both being gone. I won't lie to that. We don't have a second tier of leadership at this point. We're working on that. We're developing that. But, we're playing golf Friday afternoon, he and I,
Nice.
And there'll be business talk, but it's father son. We're going to go play some golf together.
Yep.
Hopefully the weather's going to be great. And so I think that is, to me, the whole thing of developing leadership. And I think I mentioned this earlier. My heart really goes out when we talk about leadership, and there's a lot of theoretical things about leadership, where people want to talk about theory and want to talk about what leadership is. And when I spoke in Greenville at this Carpet Cleaning conference, I really think, how do I simplify this to people? What really is it? What's the problem? Why do we get frustrated with people, employees, and because they're not doing the right thing? Yeah, you could say, and it's true, you need policies and procedures and all that sort of stuff. But I came up with this thing of there's self-leadership, submissive leadership. And I know that sounds different when you think leadership and submissive, and servant leadership. And when I think about self-leadership is like that personal discipline and life skills that sometimes guys just struggle with, and that they don't have. And I think we as employers have to coach them, and we have to help them without crippling them.
Yes.
We just initiated something that is it's called Smart Money. It's from the guy down in Nashville that's on the radio all the time. But it's basically gives everyone on our team the ability to watch videos about how to invest money. There's an app that they can use for budgeting. They can set goals. It's the Ramsey Group that's doing this, and it's not faith-based. It's pretty neutral. So, but our team needs help with that. And some of that stuff. We provide counseling. We have a counseling group that we have employed, and everybody knows they can just go without asking up to 3 times a year, and the bill will be sent to us. And then if they need more than 3, then we can help. Sometimes people need, and so some of the times the struggle people have with leadership is they never learned to lead themselves.
Yeah.
And they didn't have families and, that help them do that. I mean, I love your story. I mean, you figured that out on your own. And Pat, you're rare. You're like the half the percent, of people that, have figured that out. And I was a dumb guy young and didn't mature till probably my mid-20s, and I've been married for 5 years. It took me a while to catch on. I just was like, I was stupid. It took me a while to hey, I should maybe grow up. But I think we get frustrated because people can't lead themselves. And so we need to, in our companies, find things around that we can help them do that and give them tools. We do a 3% match, a 401k match, and we give people time off to go meet with the lady that does that for our company, and they can make appointments in the middle of the day. And I don't think she's really supposed to tell me this, but I always ask her, because she does my investments too. I ask her, said, who's not using me? Who's not taking my money? I'm willing to give them 3% of what they make.
Yeah.
And so I want to know who's not taking my money, because that's stupid.
Yeah, you want to help them.
You know, I was in nonprofits until I was 37 years of age, and I had no retirement going.
Mm.
And I literally, when I left nonprofits and got my job with the pharmaceutical companies, I had $10,000 worth of equity in my house, and I had $10,000 worth of consumer credit.
Mm.
And I wasn't worth a dime,
Yep.
you know. And I started at 37 years of age, and God's blessing on Karen and I still some days, and I know you probably feel the same way with Sheila. It's like where we're at and what we're able to do and how we can bless our children. And we had some of that conversation when we had that day.
It's
And it's just it's unbelievable. But I think the first thing is people have to think about leadership, and then I think it's this. And I love that. I don't know if people are if they what's the show? I don't know why I'm thinking it's Ted Lasso.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's a scene in Ted Lasso when Jamie, the really best player on the team, wouldn't lead. He was acting like he couldn't practice.
Yeah.
And he came up to him. It's probably the only time in that whole show, I watched all 3 seasons, that he got mad at someone. And he goes, "We're talking about practice, Jamie. We're talking about practice. And you can't be at practice. That's when it's all us." And I think that submissive leadership for people is learning to be that. It might be that 360 leadership that John MacArthur talks about, but learning to lead people around you. And I found people struggle with that. And I've had to teach tons of people in my company of like, if you're in charge of a procedure, if it's your job to make sure the trucks are parked every night, you're the boss.
Yeah.
So if someone else in the company isn't doing it right, you know, or isn't putting stuff on the shelf right, then you have to go to them and say, "This is the company standard. I need to ask you to do that."
Yeah.
You know? And so a lot of people haven't learned to do team leadership, you know, that submissive leadership. And I call it the heart of participation, you know, and that was the problem, that illustration on that Ted Lasso episode is they just aren't good teammates. I mean, we had a guy that we had to let loose years ago. And every time Jordan left, he was trying to unionize everybody that everybody wasn't getting paid right.
Oh,
And
wow.
Pat, he was the best salesman that's ever worked for me. When we said, "You need to go another direction," he sold his entire salary plus every year. He didn't cost me anything.
Yeah.
But the other side of it, because he couldn't be submissive, and I counseled him. I said, "You need to go sell roofs or something where you're out on your own all day long and you're all shingles, and you know, something where you not have to be on a team, and you know, and all you got to do is turn in a job and someone goes out and measures it, you know, or you measured it and it's over." I said, "You'll be great." I said, "You make a ton of money."
Yeah.
I said, "You're just struggling in this." And I said, "I think you're going to struggle until you learn to work as a team." And, you know, I don't know where he went, I think, you know, but trying to help him do that. And we also use now Discover Your Strengths with people. I like all my team doing that. And we do it periodically because I need people to see themselves as they are.
Yeah.
Some people don't have a realistic view of who they are, of maybe some people they were raised terribly and their parents never instilled, they didn't compliment them, they didn't show them love.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I hear people, you've probably been out in public and how they talk to their children, and I know that's such a priority for you, is they're like, "Oh, you're dummy, get in this car," you know, and so they feel that way,
tearing them down. Yeah. They literally been trained that their whole life.
But they're amazing people. They don't realize that. They're kind, they're nice, they're smart, you know, and they don't realize it. I had an interview not too long ago, and a young lady sitting in my office, and I wanted so bad to help her because there was something inside her that I thought you could bring out, but she ultimately wasn't right for that position. I wasn't at the place where I could come in and say, because I thought, man, if we could just twist a few things, I bet we could make such a difference in your life. But it would have been the wrong decision for the company, but my heart went out to help people. And I think people have to do that, you know, really do that. And then the last time of leadership, I think, is when we get to like our level. The best leaders that I've ever worked for are servant leaders.
Yeah.
In fact, probably my favorite director which is a guy who's over about 150 pharmaceutical reps. My favorite director ever at Eli Lilly, I never once heard him tell me what his next position he was looking for. But I had 2 or 3 others in my years there that were like, "Oh yeah, it was all about them getting the next job."
Yeah.
You know? And I would have done anything for that guy. And the same thing, the best guy I ever worked for was when I worked at Lilly, and he's still a friend of mine. He was my actual manager. And he was just such a servant leader. He'd get in the car to ride with you. How can I help you?
Yeah.
What do you need? What do you need? I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm pretty good, but make sure. And he'd handwrite notes and mail them to your house.
Wow.
He didn't send you an email inside. He would write a note and mail it to your house. I still got some of those.
Yeah.
That's what
it meant that much. Yeah.
Yeah. And, a lot of people have probably seen Rocket Fuel. I mean, if you need to figure out if you're a visionary or an integrator, and, and if you're a visionary, you better get an integrator as soon as you can afford one.
Yes.
I mean, you're visionary. You got some integrators, man.
Yep.
My son Jordan became that for me. We're in the process right now because of my age. I actually told him the other day with where we're going in our new vision. I said, we're switching positions. I said, you have to be the visionary. And I said, I need to be an integrator for you. And I said, I'll still dial in because I actually am still majority owner.
Yep.
But we can't go forward that way. He's got to be setting the pace and setting the vision.
Yes. Now his thing is his journey, his vision.
He's in his 30s, like you are. And he's got to set a vision of where do I want to be when I'm 50?
Yeah.
What I want this to be. But I think I don't know if that kind of taps in with people, but I just think that's the problem today. And I mean, you just see this in America. I mean, look at politics. I mean, people aren't serving America anymore. They're serving themselves,
Yeah.
and we had, and I'm not trying to be political at all, but we had somebody that was working for this administration that was working for them was stealing luggage in airports, but had a leadership position,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. And I'm like, you can't have people out there like that. You can't have people that are taken from the company, whether it's stealing time or, not giving life to other people And if you're my favorite phrase with my folks when I'm walking around the building, and I think that's really where my job is now, is to go around and help create culture, is like nothing but good going on here.
Yeah.
And by and large, and I'm sure you feel this way at your businesses, there are business problems every day.
Yep.
Trucks break down, customers cancel, we don't meet their expectations. And sometimes, to the best of our efforts, it's really not our fault. They're just not good customers. I just work around and tell people, hey, nothing but good going on here. There is really a lot of good. And when people think they're too busy, I'm like, it's a blessing to be too busy.
Yeah.
Because the alternate is not exciting at all. I'm not able to, make payroll. You're not getting the hours you need. You're not getting the commissions you need,
Yeah.
And I think that, to me, is I'm just passionate about that of late, of trying to be better myself.
Yeah.
And help people in our company come along.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that makes sense to you or.
No, it does. Yeah. Because that's what it is at the end of the day, right? Is like, you have to lead your team. You have to be positive. I have a lot of things around the office and, positivity, right? When you come in, there's a small thing called attitude, right? That makes a huge difference. I got it on my hat. Like, you got to have that stuff all over the place because people are going to want to come to that. Now, if you have a toxic environment, or, if you're like, I can't hire anybody. How many times have we heard that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you look in the mirror. Nobody wants to come work for you, right? So that's where the rubber meets the road, is like, you got to look at you, and you have to change you before your business is going to change the environment. And that's the cool thing. I think, Kedma O told me a long time ago, she was like, yeah, you're just an actor in a movie. And the good thing is you could always change the scene, Right.
Yeah.
And that's the reality, is like, for guys that are, watching, they're like, okay, well, you're saying that now, right? When you've made it and you're doing all the things. But I mean, you're speaking from the beginning too, is like, you had that positivity. You've had that visionary, mentality from the beginning to build the team, to bring those people around you, and you're building that camaraderie.
Well, and I think I used to do some coaching at Lilly. I was an executive sales rep and I had to keep moving my family. And I'm like, I'm not doing this corporate thing, go all over America. And so I decided to stay put, and they were sending me out to coach people. I used to tell people, ultimately, they pay you to be happy and walk in that office with a smile on your face.
Mm-hmm.
That's first thing you get paid for. And if you're a technician, you get paid to walk up on that front step and be happy.
Yeah.
You know, that's the first thing the company needs out of you, you know. And actually, if you can do that, you could probably be a pretty crappy closer. And
That's
just
right.
a big smile and a greeting and a thank you, that doesn't happen so
way.
often. It goes so far to make people like, oh, they'll overlook if you're stumbling over, putting a bid together, or, you know, humming or hawing around here. They'll overlook that if there's super good friendliness and even transparency, you know.
Yeah.
That, oh, this, you know, kind of getting this together here, and you know,
Huge.
tell people how it is. I mean, I just, you know, a lot of times with our team too, when we're selling, you know, tell people the why. Like, if you can't do that, I like to be yes-based selling. I like to say, yes, we could do that, but sometimes we can't.
Yeah.
And tell people why. Be
That's
honest.
right.
You know, I've told people, like, we stopped doing wall-to-wall carpet installs. And I don't do carpet or hardwood flooring unless the furniture purchase is $40,000. Because I can't do a sofa and 2 chairs in one room of carpet and be competitive. I lose money. I can't do a stair runner up the stairs. And I just tell people that. I said, I can't give you a good price on that and do that and make money myself. It's not profitable for me. So I don't offer that service, you know?
There you go.
And I think there's a lot of service. I think a lot of trades guys, I mean, you know, we're in the process of rebranding. And so we're doing all that and thinking about our trucks and what they're going to look like and that whole thing. I know you just went through that with brothers and doing all that. And I think a lot of people, when they're doing that, they just don't think about how that impression happens, you know, and the connection with people. And that just the whole, the selling piece, you know, going in there and being positive is such a big deal. And I've been through serious training with pharma, and I think the simpler you can make it with people, the easier they're going to be successful. You know, have you seen Spin Selling? You ever read that book, Spin Selling?
No.
Don't, because it's so confusing about whether you're checking for agreement all the way around. You never feel like you close the loop.
Oh, wow.
It's just, they made it so complicated. I mean,
Got it.
you know, I mean, basically you got to go in, make a personal connection, right? Make a personal connection, find out what their need is, show some empathy to that give them some assurance of, like, we can handle that. And here's why. You know, we've done for you, we've done 150, you know, 500 unit apartment complexes across the South, you know, and I'm naming off, you know, name off 5 or 6, and, like, we can handle this, you know, and then you sit down there and then you give them options for the price. You don't shop with your wallet, you know. I mean, house washing, I mean, a good house washing can be $2,500 to $4,000, right? And how many of our employees write checks in their lives for $5,000?
Yeah.
You know, so they're where the employee is and where what we're selling. You know, same thing with my designers. I mean, we have people that are in their 30s that'll come in and drop $50,000 for furniture. It still amazes me, because I was in that position when I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
And, but we can't shop and make presentations with our wallet.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the other day we sold a $15,000 leather sectional.
Man.
I mean, that's a car for one of your kids when they start driving.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You know, I mean,
but for sure,
these folks, that was just, I don't think that was a big deal at all.
Yeah.
And if you're going to close, I think that's one of the key things is making it about that 5-step. And I think you teach something. I haven't got to come out to your event. It seems like I either have market, or I was teaching at a conference when you were having your event. I make that work this last time. But I think that's what you've done. As you're teaching people, it's about a 5-step process to make that connection. And then really good sales is good follow-up.
Yeah.
If they don't sign, you got to get back around with them. You got to follow up. And there are so many automations today. Companies that are not using Chirp, not pitching here, but like I'm a reseller for Bird Eye, which will let you to be texting people, and it takes all your social media into one communication channel. If you don't have an omni channel that you're using for your company, that as an owner, that you can see all the sales guys' interactions with all the customers, you know, so you can see how they're doing and the pictures that are going around. Company Cam.
What is that? That omni channel? What's that?
Well, an omni-channel is a term for like, there's several programs like this. So,
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but I've accepted it now. But a few years back, I'm like, if they start one more Twitter, one more Nextdoor, one more Facebook, once more Instagram that someone can contact me through without asking me,
Mhm.
I'm going to explode. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it's just so difficult to do that. And a lot of guys, especially if you're an owner operator out there and you're still one truck, two trucks, there's some omni channels. And again,
Mhm.
I got hooked on to Bird Eye about 3 or 4 years ago with our store. And so, like, my wife can open up the app and see all the designers and all the conversations they're having. Also, people aren't using their own cell phone
Yeah.
contacts, so they're not creating their own list. I mean, let's be honest, people can go out and take down addresses all for 2 years and then have a mailing list and go start their
Yeah.
own business, and that happens. I
Yep.
mean, if you're keeping them happy, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But so it puts all the social media, puts your Google, messaging, your text messaging, your email. So if I've got your phone number and email in my database, or the first time you do that, I keep that. Every time that Pat Clark contacts me, all your history comes back up. And when
That's
I'm done having the conversation today, like, okay, we're going to come wash your house next Thursday. We come out, we wash your house. I chat with you. I send you a quick text. I say, hey, Pat, it's great to see you. And just thanks again. I love working for you in all these years. You've just been a great customer and just appreciate you. And you're like, thanks, Tom. I'll call you next time. I close that. And so when
Yep.
you call me 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, everything that we've already done shows up.
Nice.
So if I took pictures and put them in the app, they would come up. So what the house maybe looked like in 2022, you
Yeah.
know, and you can do that with Company Cam, and Company Cam integrates and all that sort of stuff. But an omni-channel keeps that one thing because if you're trying to do it on your phone,
Mhm.
and I love to people text. I prefer to text. 92% of people respond to text messaging
Yep.
within like 2 to 3 minutes. Um, but I still lose text. Like, I was looking for someone I was talking to the other day and going back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I might set up an omni channel for myself personally,
Mhm.
because all I would have had to done was search. And you can search with texting a little bit, but it doesn't always come up right,
Yep.
to find the old text. And if you delete them, then sometimes they don't come back.
Yep.
But using an omni channel where everything comes into that one communication thread, you
Yeah,
know.
that's nice.
So yeah, so if a homeowner's sitting and they message you on Facebook, and then the next day when they're sitting in a meeting, they text you,
Mhm.
both of those come to the same place.
Yeah, that's
That's
nice.
that's what's great about that. And so super cool. And I think that's part of being able to sell and being a closer is having the
Mhm.
tools.
Yeah.
You know, I bought both of my businesses. I bought an outdoor furniture store 2 years ago. That's the largest one, and we've kind of merged it with RG Decor, a furniture store. We still are using the
Nice.
brand because they're so well known. So there's still website up and all
Smart.
that, but we're all together in one facility now. 10,000 customers on carbon copy, no CRM,
Oh, man.
the number one store for high-end outdoor furniture in the state of Indiana. 34 years in business, 1983. 31, is that 31 or 41 years in business? 1980.
1983?
Yes, when they started.
That's 39 years.
Yeah, when they started, and no CRM.
Mhm. Dang.
And yeah, and then when I bought my rug store, that guy was doing pencil and paper. It's called after the fact accounting with the ledger, writing down all his sales and his receipts and handing that off to his accountant once a month to put together. No CRM.
Man.
And so when people are thinking about selling their businesses, because you ought to be, whether you ever want to do that, you should be building your business that it could be sold,
Yep.
period. And
Huge
I
right
also
there.
believe you should build a business, even if you don't want to have a big business and you're huge. You're way farther than I am, but I feel like you have all these A players on, and now you got the double A guy, the double A baseball player gets to come in tonight.
Yeah.
But if you don't have all the technology and your CRM, the value of what you could get, forget EBITDA on a small business. A small
Mhm.
business is only worth what you take home
That's
and
right.
the value of your equipment. So if you got 3 soft wash rigs, 3 carpet cleaning trucks, I mean, we're redoing 2 new trucks. New trucks are like $100,000. we asked the other day, Jordan and I talked today, is like, should we even sell these other two? We're only going to get 20 grand out of them. Is it more valuable to keep them around?
That's right.
You know, and I mean, you've given some old rigs away to get people started, but you know, so my trucks are worth maybe $150,000. I maybe got used all my equipment, even at our size, is maybe at best worth $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we take home.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get any multiplier on what you take home, you've got to have all that stuff. Otherwise, people are just going to buy your used equipment.
Yep.
And all of that stuff too helps you be a closer.
Yeah.
It helps you keep track of people. It helps you follow up. It helps you, you know, and there's lots of good CRMs out there, and you just got to find one that fits for you. The thing that gets me with guys too is they always want to go on the cheap.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's only $30 a month. I'm like, yeah, it's $30 a month worth of quality. It's like buying tires. Yeah, you can go out and buy $39.99 tires brand new.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to need new ones in 18 months, or you can go spend $120 for the $70,000 mile tire, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what guys do sometimes with their technology. And any more company, I don't care how big you are, you got to be thinking about having some sort of small tech stack.
Yeah.
You know, how do your pieces fit together, and how do they do what they do? And do you still use Responsibid? Do you use that for bidding? How do you guys bid out jobs now?
We don't. We have our own custom CRM now.
Well, that's good time.
Yeah, but back in the day, I mean, it was Responsibid. You know, we were using that, and we were doing the 3 packages. So there's things out there, you know what I mean, that fits you. But I would, you know, like we were talking about mentoring, right? And it's like, find somebody in the shoes you want to be in, find out what they're doing. You know, multiple people talk about going to facilities. You can go visit, you know what I mean? Different ones. Go see what the top players are doing in your market, and see what they're doing, and see what you can adapt, right? There's so much out there. There's so much technology. And I think people too, they get overwhelmed. You know, they're like, ooh, you know, back when I was doing it and I got CRM, I was like, what the heck is this? Because I'm not like a huge technology guy, right? So I had to hire my office manager.
That's you're bolting it onto an engine. Let's be honest about
That's right. That's right.
Bolting it onto an engine, and then it's all about the tech.
That's right. Yeah. Then we're hooking up the scanner. We're tuning it, right?
Yeah, that's a different. Yeah. So you are a tech guy, just different purposes.
That's right. But I mean, but in the beginning, like the CRM was just overwhelming. There's so many pieces, reports, right? And I wasn't tracking. And these are things that you can simply put in place that will change your business for the good. You just have to do them. And if you're not good at them, you know, hire an office manager, a dispatcher to do those things for you. That way you can focus on what you are, your zone of genius.
You know what? If you say a good thing, if you show yourself to be a learner,
mm-hmm.
and someone who's open for input, and people feel like you're going to implement. I mean, I have friends that have 200-person businesses that are way bigger, but because we think the same, I mean, they'll call me up and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing something. What do you think about this? And I'll call them up. Hey, I wanted to do this. And they're like, I'm sending you the pro forma. I'll tell you one thing about the trades, mechanical I've seen, and in the cleaning trades is people are more than willing to help others. And the thing I've learned, I'm in the furniture trade, and I have tried to network with that. I think it's the design thing. I have approached people like, hey, let's get together on the phone. And it's like we do, you know, how we became friends years ago.
Yep.
It's like, oh, no, I can't help you. I'm like, you're in Columbus, Ohio. You know, you're in Kansas City. I mean, we don't even compete against each other. We could help each other be better furniture stores. You know, we're competing against Restoration Hardware and Pottery Barn and Our House and all these national brands, you know, just like for me, I mean, washing isn't as much. There's nobody's taken over the country. I mean, the opening is for you, Pat. You can be the Stanley Steamer of washing, you know.
That's the goal.
Yeah. But like for me, I'm up against Stanley Steamer. You walk into any McDonald's and you tell people, tell me 2 carpet cleaners, and everybody's going to say at least Stanley Steamer, and maybe in Indianapolis we'll get lucky and come up.
Yeah.
You know. And so I think as you're thinking through that, people got to really think way bigger and think about how they're going to close, and so much you can do. I see our time's running. I got time for you. I'll go as long as you want to go, but
we need to land the plane for sure. It's good though, because there's a lot of things that come out at the end. You know what I mean? Like you get a lot of that conversation, the closing and stuff. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like you hit on all those points. It's leadership, it's closing, it's attitude, it's body inflection, right? How you present yourself. So, dude,
yeah. Don't you think people got to find a mentor?
They do.
I think that's the biggest thing. You found one in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
My mentor's Bill Yaden. I met him in a Panera. I did everything he told me to do in the beginning about how to start a cleaning company. When I started at Eli Lilly, a gal named Sue Munch, 3 times President's Council. I went and had lunch with her. She's an RN. Everything that Sue said to do, I did, and I got promoted to an executive sales rep in the fastest time possible.
Nice.
I think that's the thing that people miss. And I think you're the same. If people want to sit down with me, I got all the time in the world right now. And I know there's a certain point that you want to get paid for your coaching if it's extensive. But if someone just wants to, hey, come out, hang out for 2-3 hours one morning and talk, I am more than willing to work with people, get on a Zoom meeting, make an appointment. I've had people want to do that and they're in their truck and want to talk to me. I've told them, you're going to have to find another time. Because at this point, you're wasting my time. Because there's no way you can apply what we're going to say here. Or a guy who's on the lawn going to talk to you, or washing the house. I'm sure you've had that. I'm like, dude, we're supposed to have an appointment. I'm going to give you time. And I think when people do that and they implement what they're being told, and I heard somebody say the other day is you got to be nuts. And they were pretty strong in how they say to think that you're going to reinvent everything when all these other people have figured this out. Mm-hmm. And you're going to tell people there's just, I'm going to do this differently.
Yeah.
I know. My favorite phrase is be Pepsi to Coke. Being number 2 in a big market is just as good as being number 1.
That's right.
I just want to be Pepsi to Coke with Stanley Steamer in Indianapolis. I want to just get to where we're the number 2 brand. I don't think we'll probably ever overtake them. But if I can be the second person at McDonald's that someone says Santa Bright in the Indianapolis market, then same thing with Brothers. If you can be, people say, oh yeah, that's the wash company. That's the people that do hard surface. They're your folks. Get them in. That's really the thing of people need to say. It's okay to be Pepsi to Coke.
Yeah. I agree with that. That's exactly right. Because you're going to be there. You're going to get it. You just want your piece of the pie, at the end of the day.
Go for the high end. Don't be doing Section H housing. Go for the high end, So
that's right.
And learn. And I will too. And I think you've been this. I've become my customer, and you have too. Mm-hmm. And I think it shouldn't be your goal, but over the process of, and I'm blessed. A lot of people have done a lot of work to where I'm at, and I want to be humble about that. But I've become my customer. I got squirrels in my house, and I got people coming out, and I was kind of. I just want great service, and I want someone to come out and take care of this and get these squirrels out of my crawl space and, make my wife happy.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
But to become your customer if you can. I think that helps you, and it helps you sell too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because you really know your customer and how they think. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can start to move in those kind of groups. I'm not a big go out, hobnob around town, go to all the big events and stuff. That's not us, but we do feel very comfortable when we are in those situations or with folks for dinner,
Yeah.
And I think that helps you make those connections in life. And the biggest thing you can do is also become a networker.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to know people. I know people all across the country.
Yep. What they say, what your net worth is in your network.
I like that.
So true. Well, Tom, thank you, man. Thank you. Your time is so valuable, man. Like the knowledge and the experience you have is just phenomenal. So I appreciate you for being on. We'll definitely have you on again for sure. I know you got a lot of things coming up, and we got to get Jordan on too. Jordan's crushing it, man.
He has more to say than me. That's kind of the brains. If you want to talk some technology, and I know people talk. He has taken Chirp to a new level with us. We've been at it for several years, and he's moved our repeat rate. Yeah, you should have a separate conversation with him. He'd be very enlightening for people to help them. But hey, drag the Clark bus out here soon.
Oh, we will. Yeah, we will. We'll be out there.
We got plenty of room for you. We'll host you. We'll show you the city.
Good deal.
Appreciate your friendship.
Look forward to it. Yes, sir. All right, guys. Well, thank you again for being on Community with Closers. Another amazing episode. Go back. You got it. If you're just hopping on, you're on YouTube, Spotify, go back. Make sure you're listening to this. Good stuff. Thank you again, Tom, and have an amazing night.
All right, buddy. Thank you again. Have a good week.
You too.